Hi, Claire McFee here for Toddlers to Teens TV and creator of the Organise Your Life household filing system. Today I wanted to talk to you about New Year's resolutions and just goals in general, but specifically New Year's goals. We often make the mistake of setting New Year's goals and resolutions for the 1st of January after potentially a late night where a few bevies may have been had and you're not your usual self, and you may not have, certainly not the same energy levels that you would normally have. And sometimes the goals we want to achieve are really big ones, like quit smoking or lose a stone, or those sorts of things, especially to do with health. And what I suggest to people, and what I personally do, and this is especially for parents, which most of you who are watching are, is to write off January altogether. Because if your kids are home from school, and it's a really notoriously busy and social time of year where you're going out a lot more and partaking in more dinner parties and barbecues and drinks with friends, so certain goals in particular are going to be much harder to achieve, which can put you off literally for the rest of the year if you start off on that footing. So if you don't worry about January at all, start, beginning of February, once the kids are back at school instead, for example, your chances of success are much, much higher to just write that off. So you're not feeling guilty during January, oh, I must exercise more, I must do this, I've got to get organised, because it is just a crazy time of year. So that's the most important thing I suggest, and I've had some great feedback on an article I've written on New Year's goals pertaining to this. So I'm just going to click over there and read a bit to you on just the top 6 tips on how to set realistic goals and be more likely to achieve those goals. So the first thing is, obviously, you need to really get clear on your goals. So give them some thought and pick only a maximum of 5 areas, whether it's something personally, whether it's something at home or in the garden, at work, or to do with your kids or your partner, and write them down on an action sheet for the year. So you need to write these goals clearly down and get a piece of paper for each statement with its own heading, and break it down then obviously into the various steps that you need to do to make it happen. You need to prioritise those steps in either A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3, A and 1 being the most important steps that you need to take first for things to happen. Often we can get overwhelmed when something seems so big and scary and therefore unachievable, but once you break it down into smaller steps, it's less frightening, feels more achievable, like you can do it, and it can give you that extra motivation to just take that first step to get going, and then the next step, and the next step. So writing it down, as one of my favourite quotes goes, the weakest pen is better than the strongest memory. So really getting it down on paper is extremely important. Okay, so the next thing is finding a good home for your goal lists and your plans for the year, and putting the pieces of paper that you've written your lists on into the appropriate section of your organiser or diary. So if you've got a yearly planner, pop it in there. At the very least, if you don't use anything, buy yourself a folder and just have paper you can hole punch, or that's already got holes in it with lined paper or whatever suits you, and pop it in that folder to have in the one place. Otherwise you're going to have paperwork all over the place, and that will stress you out, and again be a reason why, it'll be an excuse why you don't keep on top of these goals and keep on top of the steps you need to take to make them turn them into a reality. Okay, so the next tip is to read and take action on your goal plan. So you can't just put them there and forget about them. You've got to look at them regularly, whether for you that's daily or weekly or at least monthly. You've got to keep them in a place where you're going to come into contact with it, whether that's the kitchen bench or a special drawer that you've got lots of paperwork, or your study, so that you make sure you look at it and say, okay, well, I could fit that in this week, and then tick things off as you go. The more ticks, the better. I love ticking it. It gives you a sense of achievement and helps keep you going, keeps that momentum going. Now, the next tip is to redo your goal action sheet regularly, because as you tick items off, it can get quite messy. You might be scribbling things in and adding new things, and that mess is not nice to look at, and for a lot of us that is another excuse to not want to take action, because it stresses you out even looking at the list. It may seem silly, I know, but that's the way some of our brains can work, so we've got to be one step ahead. So once you've sort of got half of the things ticked roughly, get a new sheet of paper, transfer those leftover things and add some new ones as the case may be, and tick off as you go again. So that's just a little trick that can really make a difference with a lot of people. And then the last tip is just setting realistic goal timelines. So if you're not realistic and then you don't achieve what you wanted to in time, you can be really hard on yourself and then give up and not attempt that again for a very long time, if at all, which would be really sad, because if you're just a little bit more realistic, then you wouldn't beat yourself up about it if you weren't fitting things in the way you had planned or hoped. So just try and sort of give yourself more time than you expect is a good rule, sometimes even doubling it, and just gradually chipping away, and you will get there. Just even 5 minutes here and there can make such a difference to getting that bit closer to your end goal. And make sure you reward yourself at the end of it too, whether it's going out to the movies or having a massage or time with friends or whatever it may be that signifies to you, pat on the back, I've done a great job, and then move on to the next goal that you'd like to achieve. Okay, so just to recap, perhaps not setting any goals at all until the beginning of February, when your kids, if you've got them, have gone back to school, can make a huge difference to increase your chances of success. We've got heaps more organising tips on goal setting and everything else you can imagine to do with organising yourself, your money, your work, your partner, your life, your health, everything over at our website, organiseyourlife.com.au, and we've got a blog, organiseyourlifenow.blogspot.com.au, so come on over there and sign up to our newsletter. We've got lots of freebies happening all the time, and competitions with other tips on a regular basis, so come and sign up. I look forward to seeing you over there. I'm just going to go back in. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you next time. Bye.